Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and certainly having a great start to your day, a great start to your work week. Pretty active day today. As we mentioned in last night's video, we got very detailed, and we will again this morning. It's going to be one of the most active, severe weather days of the summer potentially today. Now, I'll admit, I was totally wrong. We did not wake up to a moderate risk this morning, but as I always mention, the Storm Prediction Center, especially on days, the day of a severe weather event, does frequent updates, frequent tweaks to their forecast as far as the risk levels. So would not be surprised if we make our way to about 8:45, 9 a.m. Eastern time when the next update from the Storm Prediction Center comes out that we get an upgrade to a moderate risk. But I was totally wrong. I thought we were going to wake up to a moderate risk, and I think a lot of people did, but still have a very large and even more broad enhanced risk than what we discussed last night. We're going to talk about all that in this video, but I do want to let you guys know that, listen, just like I just mentioned, things could change. Things could change. So if you're viewing and it's like 10 a.m. And there's a moderate risk and you're saying, Mitch, you're giving me old information, it's because I'm making this video at around 7 a.m. Eastern time. So it's earlier. But the scenario doesn't change. It doesn't change one bit. We are still going to have significant severe weather today for a pretty large area. So we're going to break it all down for you folks. And try to keep you guys aware and ahead of what could potentially unfold today. Remember, do not get so tunnel vision on those hourly forecasts. Okay, just download a radar. Some of them are free, some of them are not. The ones that aren't free, the ones that's like $10 a year, like Radar Scope, I'm telling you, they are incredibly accurate and reliable. That's a great source. Don't focus so much on your weather apps, guys, I'm telling you. But with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. It helps get these videos out there to more people, make people more aware. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. I've not had a chance to answer the comments. I do apologize from last night's video, but I promise you I will get to them this morning. So let's get rolling. If I mispronounce any names, I do apologize. Just put it in the comments, as I always say. And we will certainly get that fixed for you in the later videos. So I don't have my clicker up, but what I can tell you is, just like I mentioned in last night's video, this area right here where you see it's kind of digging right down here, that is our upper trough. It's taken more of a neutral tilt, which means this is a strengthening system, pretty potent, what we call a short wave trough. It's basically just a piece of upper energy that basically pulls in all the ingredients for severe weather. And that'll be the case across the southeast, the mid-Atlantic, even now into areas of the northeast have an increased severe weather threat for today. It pulls in your thermodynamics and your kinematics. Both of them overlap one another. And then that is when you have the most elevated severe weather risk. So that's what's happening today. You're also going to have a piece of energy that basically pops off the flattened out portion of this ridge, this upper ridge on the upper portion of it in Colorado, that will promote a round of severe weather in Colorado, Nebraska, and Kansas today. We'll even talk about that. But most of the video, the meat of the video, is going to be discussing the millions of people impacted in the eastern U.S. by this severe weather. Take a look at what's going on radar right now. There's a few areas that we're watching. Some of these are severe warned in northern Arkansas, but this basically a steady stream of heavy rain and showers and storms moving across northern Oklahoma this morning. And then we have our upper trough with an associated associated surface low swinging across and moving even into portions of southern Ontario at this point. And then we got a lot of moisture, just energy associated with it. So we're waking up to definitely some heavy rain across areas of the Midwest, areas of the Ohio Valley this morning. Speaking of the Midwest, Illinois was very active. We had, I don't know how strong it ended up being. Maybe we'll find out today when they do the damage survey, but we had a pretty large tornado on the ground, the storm that storm chasers got. If you follow any people's live streams, storm chasing, or just live streams in general, weather-wise, you probably saw it. It was pretty wild yesterday in portions of western Illinois. I believe it was western Illinois. Waking up to a very soggy start to your Monday morning in areas of southern New England. This will clear out. This entire atmosphere right here in the mid-Atlantic southeast will really destabilize today. It'll get very hot before this line of storms, I think, especially the further south you get. So let's talk about the Storm Prediction Center update. So no moderate risk, but I'm telling you, if you're viewing and it's like 9, 10, 11 a.m., you very well could have a moderate risk right here in the mid-Atlantic. If there is one, it'll be right here over areas of West Virginia, Maryland, and Virginia, and maybe even southern sections of PA for sure. So, but for now, a large enhanced risk as of 7 a.m. Eastern time. It goes all the way from Binghamton. Binghamton. It does look like Birmingham. Binghamton, New York, in the southern tier of New York states, all the way back to basically Birmingham. Okay, Alabama. So basically Binghamton to Birmingham, we have an enhanced risk. This even extends almost all the way back to Florence, Alabama. So all of basically the southern and central Appalachian Mountains is under an enhanced risk. So higher elevations, okay, it's going to have strong to severe storms. This goes all the way to Raleigh, Columbia, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia. And I mean, you even got a slight risk all the way up into Canada now, and then all the way down to southern portions of Georgia. So tornado risk today, it's kind of a funky looking risk. It basically is sort of slanted here. It goes almost all the way to Chattanooga, Tennessee, all the way up to Binghamton. You got a 5% risk in this brown area of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. Are we going to get an upgrade to a 10% risk? I doubt it, but listen, all bets are off. Would not be surprised. The kinematics are definitely high. Kinematics meaning the wind energy that supports the spinning in the atmosphere, and then the damaging wind threat here. Please do not ignore just because you're in the 2% risk or just because you're outside the tornado risk. Okay, that does not mean you have a 0% chance. So definitely pay attention if you live in the 2% risk area. You guys could very well get a tornado today too. I'm definitely watching the foothills of North Carolina and Virginia, this area right in here. I really am. I may be chasing today. I may not. I'm not going to announce it or anything. I'm not big on that. But I might leave work at around noon. Might head up 77, see what's going on. Not sure though. Wind threat today, a large in the red area, 30% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher, 55 to 60 miles per hour. The reason we do not have a moderate risk is because we do not have a hatched risk, which means you would see a black outlined area somewhere in here, which means there would be a 10% risk of significant winds, basically hurricane force winds or higher, about 75 miles per hour or higher. That could change here in the next hour and a half, okay? There is a 45% risk. You might as well say there's a 50-50 shot of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher, 55 to 60 miles per hour, basically in northern VA, kind of the eastern panhandle of West Virginia, right through the heart of Maryland, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, all the way up to, Harrisburg, PA, okay? This includes Hagerstown, Frederick, Winchester, Leesburg, all these areas, okay? You have basically a 45% risk of those winds, all right? So you even got the 15% risk of those winds, okay, that extends from basically Canada all the way to the deep south. All right, so this is a big threat. Hail threat, just a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger, but there is a significant chance of hail out here in the northeast corner of Colorado, areas of Nebraska, and a very small section of Kansas, where I think we could have some supercells that could produce some pretty large hail out here for sure. Excessive rainfall outlook, we have a slight risk of rainfall being, flash flooding guidance being exceeded. I just reminded myself in my head as I was talking about this that I did not pull up a panel showing how much rainfall you could get in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic today, so I'm going to probably do that on the fly. If I don't, I do apologize, but there is a chance for some flash flooding, a slight risk, and you guys just continue to get a lot of rain. I think you'll get a lot of rain again this afternoon, this evening. There is a slight risk for excessive rainfall up here in the Pacific Northwest also. That means there's a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being exceeded. Watches, warnings, and advisories, excessive heat warnings in the purple. Nothing has changed with this. The heat continues to be brutal, an absolutely brutal summer down here. I don't know. Your power bill has got to be hundreds of dollars. I feel bad for you folks. I really do, and I feel for y'all. I hope you guys... I'll take one for the team, and I hope you guys get the first cold front of the fall. Y'all can have it. Y'all deserve it. Flood watches are up. Continue for areas of northern Missouri. I'm gonna make sure this isn't old. This looks kind of old. No, this is right now. Dense fog. This is almost. It just looks like it's copy and pasted from yesterday morning's video. That's why I'm hesitant. But flood watch is up for areas of Montana, Dakotas, and Wyoming. Dense fog advisories in the middle of Tennessee, even in southeast areas of VA. So let's get rolling here. The southeast, this is what could unfold today. Let's take a huge broad look at this first. We'll start off this morning. What's literally the general idea of what's going to happen today is you'll get some showers and storms that pop up pretty quickly here in the next few hours in central Kentucky. As they kind of surge and move eastward, these will start rotating almost immediately after they develop. Okay, so eastern Kentucky, and I'm going to zoom into all these regions. You guys know that's been watching for a while know that I take a broad look at it and then I zoom in on all these individual regions. Okay, these develop, they become a lot more significant as they enter West Virginia. We will not ignore Ohio too, because I think you guys, especially in Southeast Ohio, talking about you, Faye, I think you really need to watch out for a severe weather threat out here for sure. But we keep this going. These roll over the higher elevations of the Appalachian Mountains, and then they get on the eastern side, and then they sweep through areas of Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia, and then, yeah, they head off to the coast. So let's zoom into all these regions. Let's talk about the Deep South first. So we'll start off this morning. We get to about lunchtime. And central, this time that you see here on your screen for any new viewers, this is in Eastern time. So if you're in Central time, back this up 1 hour, and that's what time it is. I can't switch it to Central time. So Alabama, Mississippi, obviously you're in Central time. So we get going. Look at these storms already popping off, and we'll talk about Eastern Kentucky, Eastern Tennessee on the next frame here. But look at these storms already popping off up here in Tennessee. Okay, already riding that Kentucky-Tennessee state line and heading over portions of the Cumberland Plateau. But we keep this going. Some storms could develop as far west as northern Mississippi, but I think we're going to get some severe storms around 2 to 3 o'clock, which, pretty early in the afternoon in the Huntsville area, maybe Florence, just south of Nashville. You guys could see some severe storms. These continue, and look how significant this is in eastern Tennessee. I need to quit saying Tennessee. Let's hold off until the next frame with Tennessee. Let's really just focus on Mississippi, Alabama, and these sections right here. But I would say, even though you have the enhanced risk that digs all the way down into here, I always want to reiterate this. Just because I'm showing you one model run that does not show storms over your house, that does not mean you're not going to have storms over your house. You could very well have a damaging line of storms that is draped all the way down to central Alabama this afternoon. But it really likes northern Alabama, North Georgia for the most intense areas of storms. I really think Chattanooga sometime this afternoon could get some pretty intense storms, damaging winds, even an isolated tornado threat is possible. And these move through, and I really honestly think by the time you get to this evening, you're heading off to bed, dinner time, I think things are pretty quiet. I think most of the energy pops off in the afternoon hours. But that's pretty much it. The damaging wind threat, it really picks up on this area of storms right here in northern Alabama, North Georgia, southern sections and southeast sections of Tennessee. I'd really watch out Chattanooga this afternoon. I think you could have a line of storms that could produce some damaging winds pretty early in the afternoon, relatively speaking, just not any time in the evening, I would say, just more so afternoon hours. But you see these pockets right here of these winds, and remember, this is just model guidance, and you see these weird gaps in here, right into here. This is in 1 hour intervals, so it literally goes from 1 hour here, 1 hour here. So that doesn't mean this little area right here ain't going to get nothing. It just goes in 1 hour intervals. So just remember that as we flow throughout the rest of the movie. It is a movie, I guess, technically, except it's real. Throughout the rest of the video, that this is in 1 hour intervals. Okay, so these winds right here, that's pushing 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. This little area, that's an 80 mile per hour wind gust. I'm not saying that's going to happen just south of Nashville, but listen, you're going to get some very strong winds with this. So we move to the Carolinas, and we'll talk about Virginia probably in two different frames. It's kind of hard not to, but I would say this is really focused in on my folks in eastern Tennessee, eastern Kentucky, areas of Virginia and the Carolinas, even Georgia. So we'll move through here in time. All right. Look, we'll start at bang right off the dot. Guys, this is around 10 to 11 a.m. in Kentucky. You got storms popping off already. Lexington, Kentucky, you guys are getting storms. Richmond down to London, heading off into the eastern hills of Kentucky. These storms are already firing here. And I'm telling you, they're already rotating. The kinetic energy is there. I'm not going to talk about the ingredients in this video because I did it in very much detail in last night's video. Just going to give you the straightforward information here about what the model guidance is showing. But this continues, becomes even more widespread. This is around lunchtime. Storms are very powerful in eastern Kentucky, heading into areas like, Huntington, West Virginia. These storms continue. This is around 1 p.m. This is 2 p.m. These storms will be rotating. You notice how they look kind of semi-discrete. They're not really just one solid line of storms. That is worrisome. That means there's going to probably be embedded supercells. A supercell is a rotating thunderstorm in this area of kind of mashed together storms. These continue right over eastern Kentucky, and then they head into areas of eastern Tennessee, and I think things really go downhill for the Johnson City area, Kingsport, Bristol, even down to Knoxville. I think you guys get some pretty powerful storms about mid-afternoon. The timing is about the same as what I showed you guys last night. That's the good news because not a whole lot's changed. But I think West Virginia, I think the storms really enter, your area, and we'll talk about West Virginia again sometime early afternoon, last throughout the afternoon, evening. But these storms continue, and they're right over the southern Alps at this point. Mountains of Tennessee, North Carolina, these storms are just riding right over the mountains. I'm telling you, if you're in the mountainous regions, if you're live in the mountains, take these serious. Boone, Banner Elk, Rome Mountain area, Asheville, Gatlinburg. If you're vacationing in the mountains or just live in the mountains, I'm telling you, take these storms serious. Damaging winds are just going to fly right over the mountains sometime this afternoon. Okay, these continue. They might weaken, and then I think they will redevelop. Okay, I mean, these storms are slashing through like the Greensboro area, Winston-Salem region, Hickory, Asheville, heading into the upstate of South Carolina. These storms look like they really get. You got to remember the heating of the day. It's really going to get going in the Carolinas. So the atmosphere is really going to destabilize in the Carolinas. So I really think there's going to be plenty of energy for these storms to really fuel off of all the way throughout the evening hours. So you stop it here, show some nasty storms producing probably damaging winds, even an isolated tornado threat, some hail right over the Greenville-Spartanburg area. These are heading towards the Gastonia region, right over Charlotte around 8 p.m. These storms, even though they don't look as intense right here, could be just as powerful in areas of southeast Virginia, Raleigh, places like that. And then they start affecting the Columbia, South Carolina region, get close to Florence. You got storms moving through Georgia. This particular run of the HRRR model does not look as worrisome for North Georgia, but that doesn't mean you're not going to get powerful storms. I think that you guys, if you live in North Georgia, Atlanta, some intense storms are likely sometime late afternoon, early evening. And these continue, and then they head all the way to the coastline. Unfortunately, this run, the HRRR model, only goes 18 hours out. But I really don't think they're going to make it all the way into the eastern Carolinas until you get into late in the evening. I mean, you might go to bed thinking, all right, well, nothing's going to happen, and then you get woken up an hour or two later from some nasty storms. It's quite possible. And if I go kind of to the 06Z, it shows the storms a few runs back, a lot more intense for eastern South Carolina, even down in southeast Georgia, as you make our way through. All right, here we go. So we cleared all the way to the coast. I do think they begin to weaken. This run of the HRRR model says it's going to get to the coast a little bit quicker than the latest run of the HRRR model. It says, hey, it's going to be at the coastline, around 10, 11 p.m., maybe midnight. So, Charleston, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, maybe even the Outer Banks, you guys could see some storms late evening. All right, so we take a look at the wind gusts. Remember, this is in 1 hour intervals. All right, so winds, I'm going to spit out some time frames in Eastern time. 3 p.m., look at these storms heading into the mountainous regions. Look at eastern Tennessee. You got areas of 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts. These continue, and we'll go on and roll through. This is 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. So look at this. And remember, I know you see these little gaps. Just pretend like this entire area is covered. This is a 1 hour interval, so it goes from 1 hour right here to 1 hour right here. Basically, the general theme is there's tons of kinematic fuel in the atmosphere, tons of strong low-level winds, mid-level winds, upper-level winds flying through this region, plenty of shear. So these storms are going to produce damaging winds, anywhere from 50, 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts with these storms. It's going to sweep throughout the entire afternoon and evening hours here in the Carolinas and North Georgia and even eastern Georgia. So that is the theme. If you look at the tornado risk, guys, I'm telling you, especially earlier in this storm, in these storms, like early this afternoon to mid to late afternoon. If you live in eastern Tennessee, all those cities I just mentioned, all right, Knoxville, Johnson City, the Bristol area, the tornado threat is there today. It kind of reminds me of that setup, back in like May, early May that I chased up here, except it might be a little bit more higher end. You got that 5% risk of a tornado in this area. Can't ignore the eastern Kentucky area, either western areas of Virginia, and even into the Carolinas, guys. I think the foothills and the Piedmont of North Carolina, upstate of South Carolina is an area to watch today. I really do. But there is going to be some tornadoes embedded in this line of storms and some rotation, okay? And that makes it dangerous because it's kind of a linear threat, right? So we go up here to the northeast, and we'll break down a few areas up here too. In general, we're started off this morning. We're going to deal with this rain. It's going to make it all the way up into Maine today. And then here is all these widespread strong to severe storms. This associated surface low flying through the region. Tons of storm action. And this line of storms in the mid-Atlantic. You got little areas of storms down here into areas of the Ohio Valley. You got powerful storms flying through New York State. And you continue to keep this going. And you're even still dealing with storms as late as 11 p.m. in eastern areas of New York State, about to head into the state of Vermont. So that's a broad look at it. We're going to close in on some areas. Ohio. Let's get some water. This is taking a while. Ohio. So you're waking up to some moisture this morning. The idea is that we're going to clear out briefly. But listen, you don't need much oomph in the atmosphere. Much in the atmosphere here in Ohio, West Virginia, Eastern Kentucky. So that means, by the time some of you folks are watching this video, you're already experiencing some severe weather in Kentucky, West Virginia, and Ohio. So stop it here. It's around 11 a.m., 10, 11 a.m. You already got strong storms, like I said, around the Huntington area, southern sections of Ohio, Jackson, Ohio, Peebles, Ohio, Lucasville, the Portsmouth area. You guys are dealing with some storms. There's strong to severe storms here in northern Kentucky. These continue to ride, and they really intensify. This is around lunchtime, 1 p.m. Look at these storms moving into western sections of West Virginia, southern Ohio, eastern areas of Kentucky. I'm telling you, this is when you begin to worry. You see how there's just small little embedded storms in this line of storms. I wouldn't even call this a line of storms. It's just kind of it looks like an unorganized area of storms. And in this case, I would say unorganized is a bad thing because it means that this isn't evolved into a cluster of storms. It's kind of just into a linear area of storms. It's kind of more of just a cluster of almost discrete supercells, which means we got rotation in this. So this is around 1 p.m. It's looking very active in all of eastern Kentucky, western West Virginia. You keep this going, and the activity really increases early to mid-afternoon, but it's still very active in central to southern Ohio. Look at this line of storms moving through southeast Ohio right in here. There's a lot of smaller towns in southern and southeast Ohio. Athens, watch out. You need to watch out as, Parkersburg, West Virginia. But this area of storms, higher elevations, higher hills, higher mountain peaks in West Virginia. This is going to be very active for you folks. Tornadoes embedded in this line of storms, damaging winds pushing 50 to 60, 70 miles per hour. This flies through the region, and this is about 4 p.m. The main piece of energy is beginning to surge into Maryland, Northern Virginia, but you still got a lot of storm activity developing back here, and there's still enough fuel in the atmosphere for some of these to really be producing storms too. And I really think it's because these storms get going so early in the afternoon, late morning, that it's 5 p.m., 4 or 5 p.m., and there's still some juice in the atmosphere. So these storms continue to form back here. So it continue to be pretty active in southeast Ohio. More storms could kind of drift into northern Kentucky and then areas of West Virginia. Okay, so well, watching all these areas today, and we keep on going. I think by the time we get into this evening, things really chill out for this region. But we got a long ways to go. Damaging wind threat, we'll start this off. And I think the damaging wind threat really increases for our folks as we get into West Virginia, northern VA. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to get damaging winds in southeast Ohio, but I would argue that the tornado threat is probably, I wouldn't say higher than the damaging wind threat, but I would say that it's more appreciable in this region than the damaging wind threat. Damaging wind threat really gets going, I would say, in central to all of eastern West Virginia. Okay, but you're going to get some 30, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts with some of these storms in Ohio too. You look at the updraft Felicity swath, guys, I really think there's a pretty decent tornado threat even in southeast Ohio today. West Virginia, I think, in Maryland and northern VA is going to be the big areas. West Virginia especially. I'm telling you, if you live anywhere in West Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia, Huntington, Morgantown, Beckley, take the tornado threat serious. It's going to crank up early afternoon, last throughout the afternoon hours and early evening, okay? These highlighted colors you see on your screen, that is where this run of the HRRR model is indicating rotation with these storms. That doesn't mean you're going to get a tornado. It just means that these updrafts are rotating, and once you start to get into this orange and red, that means they're rotating big time. Definitely some more stronger rotation with these storms. So I'm telling you, take this serious in West Virginia today. Take it serious, the tornado threat too. Let's talk about the Mid-Atlantic. This is going to cover Washington, D.C., Baltimore. These are the main areas right here where I wouldn't say the main areas, but this is I think going to be the highest impacted region here. Start off this morning. You're going to have plenty of time for this atmosphere to be stable in this region. These storms start to move out of West Virginia. It's getting very active already in western and southern areas of Pennsylvania. In fact, you got a pretty strong storm heading up Interstate 81 right towards Harrisburg at around 2 to 3 p.m. Strong storms already surging through all of western Maryland, those higher elevations of western Maryland. Here comes these storms riding right over the higher elevations of West Virginia. This is around 4 p.m. based off this run. And damaging winds is really beginning to increase. Remember, this entire atmosphere right here is really unstable. These storms move in and bang. We'll stop it right here and talk about this for a minute. 5 p.m. You got scattered convection up here in Pennsylvania. You got storms up here in the southern tier of New York. We'll talk about New York, though, here in a second. But, Harrisburg, the Lancaster area, York, PA, this is beginning to affect you guys. These storms are starting to head into central Maryland at this point. So at this point, they're right over the Hagerstown area, Martinsburg, Frederick, Winchester. Not only you got a damaging wind threat with this, but embedded in this line of storms, you got a tornado risk. I know that I feel the need to mention that over and over again. Just because this looks like just a steady line of storms, I'm telling you, there's definitely going to be embedded rotation with this area of storms. This continues, knocks on the doorstep of Washington, D.C., is flying through the state of Virginia, Charlottesville, you guys are being impacted, Lynchburg, Blacksburg, Roanoke, I would say, is going to be impacted more so around 5 p.m. Getting to 6 p.m., this surges through central Virginia. This is heading into the Maryland region, starting to get into those coastal regions, the Maryland intercoastal regions. At this point, it's possibly moved past the Washington, D.C., affecting Baltimore. And, it's heading right towards Delaware at this point. And let's see some towns, Annapolis, you guys, it's heading right towards Dover, Salisbury, you guys, Fredericksburg, right over you folks at this point. Damaging line of storms around 6, 7 p.m. And then this heads towards Delaware. Delaware, I think you guys start to get impacted as early as 6, 7 p.m. and last throughout the early evening time frame. And, for you folks in Virginia Beach, Norfolk region, just the Delmarva in general, how intense is this storm's going to be held together by the time it reaches you guys? I think that they're the worst around this time frame right here, 4, 5, 6 p.m. This is when they're most intense, and I really think they are slamming the foothills of Virginia at this point. Right around Interstate 81, about to ride down Interstate 64. They are really slamming this region right here in the valley portion of Virginia. So take this serious. I'll say it over and over again. Damaging wind threat. Here we go. This is 3 p.m. This is 4 p.m. This is 5 p.m., 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, same thing with the Carolinas, guys. 40, 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts with this line of storms. And remember, I'll say it again, just because you see these little gaps, that it's just because of some 1 hour intervals. Okay, I'll say it over and over again just so you guys understand. But 50, 60, maybe as much as 70 mile per hour wind gusts with this area of storms that flies through Virginia, eastern West Virginia, southern sections of PA. This will be serious, guys, and not to ignore you folks in New Jersey, New York City. It just depends on I think it'll hit you guys in the evening time frame, but how much does it hold together for you guys? It's a big question, but we can't ignore it, because if we go back and look at this, I mean, areas of, eastern PA, western New Jersey, I mean, you are under that enhanced risk. So, I mean, it shows these storms really holding together, especially for southern New Jersey. But how much do they hold together for like just eastern PA? But I mean, if you're up here at Scranton, Harrisburg, basically just Allentown, Reading, you guys could get some severe weather around the late afternoon, evening time frame for sure. So, winds, already talked about that. Updraft velocity swath, I'm telling you, look at this highlighted colored area right in here. It really likes this area around Hagerstown, Winchester, Martinsburg. I'm telling you, I think that this is going to be an area to watch for the tornado threat. It really is, just north of Washington, D.C. But this entire area will run the risk. But this area right into here, northern Maryland, West Virginia, you guys, highest tornado threat. I definitely think of the day right here in this region. I definitely think so. New York State, I mean, we can't ignore you folks, okay? The morning rain, convection clears through. We get rid of it. And then here comes these storms. This is around 3 to 4 p.m. Storms are entering the western areas of New York State, affecting the Finger Lakes region, crossing through the southern tier of New York State. Not even the southern tier, but I mean, it's heading up towards Rochester, Syracuse, affecting the Interstate 81 corridor, riding down that Interstate 90 corridor, and slashing through the entire state. And I'm telling you, we stop it here. It's around 7 p.m. This is an intense area of storms flying through the heart of New York State. Okay, pretty intense weather. And I mean, you take it all the way to 9 p.m. You guys are definitely going to have a stormy evening in the Adirondacks, Albany. You guys could see some storms, 8, 9, 10 p.m. And these are going to pack a punch. This goes all the way out to about 11 p.m. If you keep this going, I think that these storms will be weakening at this point. But I think you could get some storms around midnight in Vermont. It's very possible, even western areas of Mass and Connecticut. But definitely some big storms riding right through the valley regions of New York State around 11 p.m. These storms could pack a punch, guys. I'm telling you. Winds from this, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 p.m. I mean, it doesn't reflect much, but you're definitely going to get some 30, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts with these storms throughout New York State throughout the afternoon and evening hours. So take the winds threat serious up here too, where you have that enhanced risk all the way into the Binghamton region. Okay. Updraft velocity swath, there's a little signal for some rotating updrafts. So I don't think the tornado threat will be non-existent up here in New York State today. So take that serious too. If you get any tornado warnings, I'm telling you, anywhere, take it serious today. So 33 minutes. Let's work our way to the South Central U.S. What stinks about these long videos is sometimes I spend so much energy on one area. By the time I get to other areas, it might not be quite as active. I just don't put as much energy into these sections. So if I leave you folks hanging in the South Central U.S., North Central U.S., Western areas, I do apologize. It takes a lot of energy discussing all that in detail. But we're going to get rid of this rain in Oklahoma and Arkansas today. And then by the time we move into this afternoon, this evening, I'm expecting some pretty strong storms to really get going here in Western Texas. Interstate 27 down to Amarillo, down to Midland, Odessa, Lubbock. Some storms are possible this evening, around 8, 9 p.m. I think some storms fly through western areas of Texas and then make it all the way to the Red River. And I think we're going to be dealing with some showers and storms, heavy rain along that Red River borderline between Oklahoma and Texas. And then we could be waking up to another just cluster of showers and storms somewhere in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi tomorrow morning for sure. A little bit closer look at Colorado. I think we're going to get some big-time supercells that develop here in northeast Colorado today. So if you live up here in Colorado and along the Interstate 76 area, Sterling, Fort Morgan, up to Julesburg, I think you could run the risk of some strong supercells today. I think they could produce large hail. A brief tornado is certainly possible. And I definitely think that this could get quite active today. So we totally just don't need to ignore this. We really don't. Even though it's going to kind of not be looked upon just because of how active it is out into the eastern U.S. But let's take this serious too. Updraft velocity swath does show some rotating storms right here in northeast Colorado. And so let's go to Kansas really quick. as I think we're going to get some intense storms that flies through this region later tonight for sure. And we'll start it off around 4 or 5 p.m. Powerful storms right through western and northwest areas of Kansas. I think Goodland could certainly get some nasty storms around 7, 8 p.m. tonight. Please watch out for those very, very large hail. I think western and southwestern areas of Nebraska, same deal. And I think you're going to get a cluster of pretty strong to severe storms that just rides through most of Kansas overnight tonight. And so, if you live in western central Kansas, I think late this evening, don't be surprised if you get some damaging wind gusts, some hail, and just some lightning and thunder that just flies through the region. And I think that you can get some powerful storms around the Oklahoma-Kansas border too. So please take this threat serious also today. North central U.S., much quieter. Some showers could drift through South Dakota, Nebraska today. Some powerful storms are possible in southwest Nebraska. Tornado threat, very large hail threat in extreme southwest Nebraska. Otherwise, just some pop-up downpours pretty much anywhere in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin is possible. Very isolated, but possible. And just not a whole lot to speak on in the south central U.S. Could wake up to some showers in western areas of Iowa. My folks out in the western U.S., I think you can get a lot of rain today in areas of Idaho, especially the northern half of Idaho, areas of eastern Oregon. So you see a lot of rain, southwest areas and western areas of Montana. Some showers and storms are possible. I think it could be quite rainy today. And the heart of New Mexico, definitely going to get some heavier rain in this portion of the country today. But I think we're going to deal with a good bit of rain up here in Idaho, western and southwest Montana, and in areas of Washington State and Oregon for sure. And I just remembered, I totally forgot to show the rainfall amounts for my folks in the Northeast. I apologize, guys, I do. But you guys up here could certainly get, quarter inch to as much as an inch and a half of rain from these heavier downpours. Temperatures today, very hot. It'll warm up big time, I think, all the way to Washington, D.C. ahead of these storms today. It won't even have time to really heat up much in the Ohio Valley, but I think it will heat up enough. But the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, the deep south, well into the 90s, very hot temperatures, very humid conditions south of this boundary that sets up. Everybody else on the other side of this boundary, stormy conditions. And once you get far enough north, it calms down, just 70s and 80s, more pleasant conditions up here for the majority of the country, really. Pretty nice. Western U.S. Remains pretty cool in the Pacific Northwest and Northern Rockies. Just with just a lot of shower activity. Hot where it normally is this time of the year. Outside of that, nothing new. God bless all y'all. Stay safe today. Please, 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 please do not wait to take the weather serious until it gets serious. You got to put some respect on the weather's name, guys. I mean, it's just time and time again, people do not give a darn about it until it's affecting them. If you wait till it's affecting you, it could cost you your life. Okay, so take it serious, guys. God bless all y'all. Have a great Monday, and I'll talk to you soon.